Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Anton Warrenchuk in Baltimore, and we're now joined by two guests to get an update on the situation in Gaza. Joining us now is Nalan El-Sarraj. She's a Gaza-based blogger coming to us from Gaza City. We're also joined by Yusuf Al-Hayla, who is the Middle East correspondent for the Real News Network. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Yusuf, let's start with you. As Operation Protective Edge continues, what's the latest that's happened in Gaza?
Well, for the 15th consecutive day, Israel continues its unallowed land, sea, and air military assault on besieged Gaza. This toll, of course, keeps rising rapidly. Up to this moment, the Gaza Health Ministry said that 560 have been killed and over 3,300 injured across the Gaza Strip since the start of the aggression on the 8th of July. Now, amongst the targets shelled today was Shuhada al-Aqsa Hospital, situated in Deir al-Balah in the middle of the Gaza Strip, killing 5 patients and injuring dozens. A state of panic prevailed at the time of the attack as families as they were present and patients had to be evacuated. Also, a mosque, a UN school in Al-Maghazi refugee camp also were attacked by tank shells. Also today, 6 civil defense crews were among the wounded as their vehicle came under fire. Also, sad incidents keep happening. 6 worshippers injured when a mosque was struck by a missile fired from an Israeli drone in the southern Gaza Strip. Also, a church situated in Gaza City sustained damage in a separate airstrike in the city. Now, since the assault started, over 3,000 homes were either totally or partially destroyed as a result of deliberate air raids or tank shelling. Now, many of the residential homes and buildings were deliberately attacked without any pre-warnings. In one incident, for example, today, 12 people who live in a 12-story building, 4 story buildings were collapsed, and as a result, 12 people killed in that airstrike that targeted Al-Isra building in Gaza City. Now, the random tank shelling has become the norm in Gaza since the start of the ground invasion about 3-4 days ago, and as a result, 85,000 people fled their homes in Shuja'iyya, from Shuja'iyya to Fah and Sha'af neighborhoods east of Gaza. Now, Shuja'iyya quarter is a disaster area, huge and massive destruction, and piles of debris fill and block the streets and could be seen almost in every street and road across that part. And as a result, this huge number, they fled to about 50 UN-run schools to seek shelter. Now, this area is a ghost city. Now, Gaza, as we know, is a big prison. Almost 2 million people live in the besieged Gaza Strip, which is the most densely populated area in the world. So there is absolutely no safe place. And also people are outraged from the weak position of the International Committee of the Red Cross that coordinates the services for Palestinian ambulances, because people say that the ICRC does not exert enough pressure, it does not do its work when it comes to coordinate with the Israelis to collect the bodies of the dead people and injured people. So the hospital is filled with dead bodies, and there is a state of high alert has been declared for the past few days at Shifa Hospital. So the situation is still miserable. People, they have no electricity. They cannot go out to buy goods or food. Shops are closed. Drones, F-16s fly over Gaza around the clock. Tank shelling echoed throughout the besieged territory. So absolutely, it's a killing zone. I mean, it's unbelievable how the people of Gaza are going through this misery, unable to flee Gaza. I mean, the Rafah crossing has been closed most of the time for the past few months or several months. So absolutely, there is no safe haven for the people of Gaza. And the civilian population and children continue to bear, to be killed in cold blood.
And Nalan, tell us what has been going on where you are in Gaza City.
The situation is very horrible over here. Many people are evacuated their homes from around the borders, and especially in Shuja'iyya area. today, me and some of other social activists and the bloggers, we went down to the streets to see how we could help them. And the stories that we collect, people that we saw, it's unbelievable. It's unreal. How many people, a huge numbers of children, they lost their homes and they can't, of course, because of the situation right now, especially after the ground invasion on Gaza Strip. We have no electricity, especially in Gaza City. We only have less than 5 hours of electricity, and other areas, which is a bit further, they only have less than 3 hours of electricity, which means also water shortage, which means also people cannot live and survive under all this situation that we've been living through more than almost 2 weeks. The people that we saw today, and the children and the women, and it's unbelievable. They were barefoot. They have no food and they have nowhere to stay. Mostly they sleep on the ground. They have nothing. And we're trying to help them, but even the UN schools, there's not enough for them. So they basically go to the churches to stay there, and it's not even safe over there, as well as mentioned. Yusuf mentioned that even these places got airstrikes nearly damaged as well. So we don't really know how we could help them. It's even dangerous to go on this. It's very scary over here, and the situation is getting worse. And even right now, there's airstrikes, especially in my area, which is Tel El Hawa, and other areas in Gaza City, and also, of course, in the close north and east and south of Gaza. And the situation is getting worse, and we don't know where people go and how to even provide anything for them to help them go through this. From one of the stories that that I saw today, I was asking her, did you leave home? Trying to make a good conversation with a little girl who lost everything in a very young age. I can't even imagine her future. And when she answered, she was like, I was trying to get us back home, and my mom is not answering me. She's not giving me a clear answer. And then just seeing that this girl trying to figure out what's happening in a huge, unfair, unhuman world.
So, Nalan, how have people there been responding to the news that over 70 Palestinians were killed in the neighborhood of Shujaiya?
Most of the people that I met today were basically evacuated their homes from Al-Shujaiya area. So they're actually Shujaiya area's citizens, or they used to be. This is people over there that believe that this has happened to them. They're trying to figure out how all of this will be solved, praying that maybe they could go back to their homes again. But the numbers are huge. I even yesterday went to Al-Shifa hospital to see, trying to help the people who evacuate their homes, and the children and the women. It's unreal what's happening. It's real, actually. People are trying to find help, trying to reach out for the people, the international people, but there's no enough places for them. Even the UN schools are full. Now we're trying to find out homes and places for them to stay, trying to provide food and all the necessary and basic supplies. It's very dramatic. They're under shock. They're trying to, be strong for their children, but I can see in their eyes, they feel broken. They feel, I can see the massacres. I can see the genocide that Israel did in their eyes, in their faces. And I don't think that any one of them, or any one of us who've been through all of this with them, could ever get over it.
And how are Palestinians in Gaza responding to statements from Hamas that they'll continue to fight until the siege is lifted? Now, and I ask this because there seems to already be fairly little pressure from the international community for Israel to stop its offensive against Gaza. Yusuf, let's start with you.
Okay.
Well, Israel's stated goal is to put an end to the rocket fire from Gaza, and the invading troops have been confronted by Palestinian resistance groups, and we say that Israel has retaliated by shelling residential areas, by killing civilians, destroying their property. So obviously people are united behind the resistance. And they celebrated yesterday following the news of capturing of Israeli soldier. But obviously civilians, and they continue to pay a heavy price for this aggression on Gaza. Now, of course, one of the main reasons why Hamas did not accept the Egyptian proposal, because it did not include the lifting of the siege and the reopening of the Rafah border crossing and the release of some prisoners who were arrested in the past few weeks. Obviously, people, they have had enough. Gaza has been under siege for the past 7-8 years. And people, they want to have a decent life, a normal life like the rest of people worldwide. So obviously, it seems that Israel will press ahead with this ground invasion, will kill more civilians, will destroy more property in order to put a pressure on resistance groups to respond or to agree to the Egyptian proposal, which is a ceasefire for a ceasefire, which is something did not actually please the population in Gaza. They say after this losses, after this destruction, after this misery 7 years, we are not going to accept humiliation by the Egyptian side. So, I mean, people, of course, they want an end to this bloodshed. Of course, they want to have a normal life. Of course, they want to ceasefire to be reached, because they haven't slept for the past 2 weeks. They have been suffering miserably. Loved ones, they even cannot bury their loved ones under the rubble. So, but they say, I mean, let's be clear about that. The siege must be lifted, and this is the main point where actually the people of Gaza want to have a normal life away from the collective punishment of Israel.
And Nalan, let me get your response to the same question that Hamas says will continue to fight until the siege is lifted.
I totally agree with Mr. Yusuf, because what we've been living through for more than 6 years right now is a decade, and we feel that Israel is trying to push us back to live through that horrible situation. We had less than 8 hours of electricity. Of course, that would affect the water. The fishermen only could sell and fish for 3 kilometers. I'm not talking 3 miles. I'm talking 3 kilometers, which does not qualify a good living for 300 fishermen in Gaza Strip. We're talking about 2 gates that not our authority controls. We're talking about a very horrible situation that we feel Israel is trying to push us back to live in. And we believe that the resistance, which is basically our brothers who've been living all of this with us, feel us and do not accept what's happening to us. They're trying to defend us and trying to protect us from what's happening. They're putting themselves in the first line to be killed so we could live a better life. And of course, people over here support the resistance mostly. We do not we cannot forget that Hamas has been elected legally over here in Gaza Strip, and this means that a lot of people over here that basically support Hamas, or even they do not support Hamas, but they cannot target buildings. Israel cannot target civilians, because basically we have more than 50% of the people over here who support Hamas or got relations with Hamas, which means if they need to vanish Hamas from Gaza Strip, they need to kill more than 60% of the people who live here, which doesn't make any sense. If they want to talk about peace, they have to show us that they want peace. What we've been living through, the blockade and the occupation, and this is not our first time Gaza Strip to be going through this kind of operations. We've been through that before, which means that Israel has no intentions to have a real peace agreement. And that's why everybody over here supports the resistance, even though that we're going through hell. We understand that these people who are resisting for us, and even us, the normal people, we're trying to resist with all the things that we know, our social media, our voices, the art, the music. We're trying to show the world that we want to live a peaceful life, when Israel is trying to force us to go back to live in a siege. We don't want to live that life anymore. If they want to make any agreements, it has to be respecting our lives as a human being, to have a normal life, to give us a chance to have a choice in life. Now we feel we have no control on our lives. We feel that we are trapped in this situation that they control with their politics and their lies. And we need to see a real deal. We need them to understand that they have to accept our conditions, because we are the people who are living in siege. We are the people who are losing our beloved ones, and we are the people who are suffering right now.
Okay, Nalan Al-Sarraj and Yusuf Al-Hayla, thank you both for joining us.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.